Well, hello. Thank you so much for joining me for this project that we're calling the COVID Diaries. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us your name?
My name is Laura. I am 13. I'm in 7th grade.
Oh, awesome, Laura. Thank you so much for your time today. What an interesting perspective to have um, a middle schooler as part of this project. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So why don't we go? Why don't we start back and go back into March of 2020, March of last year. Where were you kind of in your life? What were you doing? What was happening in school?
I was in school, and when they announced that we were gonna have like a 2-week break,
Um,
everybody was like, "We get school off," and everybody was so excited. And then like a couple of weeks after, they were like, "Why aren't we back in school yet? Like, what's happening?" Like, because we didn't know.
right. There was so much that nobody really knew about this in the beginning.
And I was about to start a tournament basketball team, or season, I should say, and that was very disappointing that I couldn't play on that. Definitely.
I remember that being canceled very suddenly at the last minute.
Yeah.
I also remember you having you had a cold in the weeks leading up to this event happening, the country being shut down
Yeah.
and those things happening. And I remember the coach saying, well, maybe she should sit out this practice because in light of all of the sickness concerns.
Yeah.
So I just can't help but think back to that time. So, so at first everybody in school, everybody was saying, okay, like we're going to be off for 2 weeks. And then was it like, okay, like how did you feel that the kids were, sort of reacting to the news of this like strange microorganism? And were people afraid? Were people like,
I mean, I was reacting the same as everybody else. I was just excited to like get out of school, quite honestly. Like, and then like they said like we're gonna take like the rest of the year off, and I was like, okay, yes, like I'm down for that. Like I'm cool with no school. But then it became like it was so weird. It was just such strange times. And it just became super challenging.
So you thought you were going to be just completely out of school, no schoolwork. We're done here. Have the year off. Have a great year.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It didn't end up being that at all. It ended up being, these school communities having to come together and really coming up with a curriculum to teach you guys from home on your couch, on our couches.
Yeah. I think that one thing that schools didn't do last year, they fixed it this year, but like because a whole lot of the kids, including me, were definitely struggling with remote. And like what they weren't doing is they weren't doing like video calls. So now like schools are doing like Zoom, but like I feel like if they did video calls, then like all those people that weren't doing that good definitely would have been better, because I feel like the video calls helped me this year. And because I was doing like a whole lot worse last year, but I feel like this year it's better because of the calls.
So it's like more face to face. So last year it was just almost kind of like, here are your assignments online, do the assignments, submit them. This is now school.
Exactly.
This year, school looks more like a Zoom call, right?
Yes.
So, you can see your teacher face to face, which is really important, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, talk about a big transition for you guys.
Yeah.
So I know that you mentioned that you struggled in school last year. What did that look like for you? What do you mean by that exactly?
It just like, I just had a hard time focusing on like what I was doing, and I would just get distracted super easily, and it was just, I just like wasn't doing anything. Really.
And you were, all this news was flying around about, a lot of people dying in the world. And suddenly, you're totally isolated. How was that? I mean, how was, I know we talked about the change of it all, but how did it feel to be out of that routine of school? How did it feel to be really removed from, the social piece of school?
It was definitely overwhelming because, like, like, most of a part of a teen's life is social. Like, that's really, like, especially in, like, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, like, that's, like, what teenagers, like, that's almost their whole life. So, changing from, like, being social every day to not seeing anybody at all, it was a huge change, and, like, hearing the news was super overwhelming, and it was just so much things happening at once. It was just crazy.
Absolutely. Big changes. You go from this sort of like very normal school routine, Monday through Friday, 8 to 3, get on the bus, come off the bus, to, trying to get away with doing your classwork in your pajamas.
Yeah.
On the couch, days and days would go by that I remember how tough that was for you.
Yeah.
What else was happening in your life besides that school piece that was really difficult? I know that you're a part of, I know you mentioned a tournament basketball team, but I know that that's a really big piece of your recreation is sports.
Yeah.
And the social piece that sports teams bring you. How, and I know, right after the basketball tournament season, you were coming up on a pretty important softball season too. And that was canceled. That was all canceled too at the last minute. So talk about losing that recreation in your life. What did that look like for you a year ago?
That was definitely hard because like really what my life was like friends, like sports, like more like half and half, friends and sports, and then some family because I was like a teenager, so
of course.
But yeah, losing sports was definitely a heartbreak because like sports was a big part of my life and is a big part of my life, so that was a hard time for me on top of not seeing my friends. So
yeah, it's recreation, it's time with other people. I know team sports are a big part of your social network for sure. And it was just all suddenly just taken away. Really, really sad. That was really, really sad times for sure. So school kind of came and went, and you did feel a lot of pressure, with school assignments to the point that you felt like you weren't able to do them. Or did you have feelings of maybe, because of feeling isolated? What were the feelings when you were, was it depression? Was it, anxiety? What were you feeling at the time?
I definitely felt a little depressed because I couldn't see anybody. And like you said, being isolated is just it's so weird because like I've never lived like that. I'm an outgoing person, and I've always lived with like people. Like I've always like had so many friends with me at all times, and it was just such a big change. So I definitely felt super upset by that, and I was very overwhelmed, like I said earlier. Like, so many things were going on. Like, there was a new virus. There was so many deaths. It was, like, spreading all over the world.
School and sports were gone.
Yeah, school and sports were gone. It was so many things.
Huge. Such a big deal. Do you remember feeling fear that maybe, you would get sick? Or, I know that your mom works in a hospital setting. Did you have fear about her getting sick? Or any of your family members? What did your fear and anxiety look like specifically around the virus?
Because so many people were dying, I was definitely scared that I would get it and die. But then, like, not looking more into it, but because, like, they released more and more information, like, as the days went by, I felt less and less scared because I do not have any illness, like...
Underlying?
Yes, underlying illnesses. It doesn't mean that I, like, couldn't get it or anything, but it just means, like, it wouldn't be such a bad thing for me to get it, but to spread it to my family, because at that time, there was a newborn baby, and then there was
your home?
Yes, yeah. In my dad's house, and then my stepmom was also, like, kind of sick. She had some kind of infection.
Maybe kind of compromised in some way.
Yeah. Yep. And then my mom also had asthma, so that would be a big problem. So I wasn't scared of getting it, but I was scared of getting it and spreading it to people.
Oh, I see. So you didn't really have any fear. You realized that you were not maybe in a group that would be, that experiences the most severe symptoms. So maybe you weren't as afraid for yourself, but you were afraid to be a spreader.
Yeah.
That's a very mature and caring point of view to take, I have to say.
Yeah.
Gosh, it's I'm just so sad for all of you kids. It's one thing for us grown-ups to have to isolate and do what we have to do, but it's always you guys, you kids, and it's elderly people that I think the most of during this whole thing, and it's just been such a hardship for you guys.
Yeah.
So the summer came and went, and the summer almost seemed to be a little bit more like people were more relaxed, people weren't so fearful. I know that you did plenty of stuff with friends over the summer. Did you have feelings of, maybe this is over? Maybe we can get back to normal?
I did I did a small bit because, I feel like everybody thought that it would be, it's over now because, there's less and less cases. But because everybody thought that there was a second wave, there was a huge amount of cases coming in because, everybody thought that there wasn't any virus anymore.
Right, so people were out doing what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Not being
wearing
as
masks.
cautious. Right.
Yeah.
Not being cautious.
I was still wearing a mask, obviously. But I just felt like everybody else was just it's gone. We can
do what we want.
Party.
Yeah.
Especially colleges. I remember seeing on the news, there was a whole bunch of colleges that was thought that they could party and just do everything in a packed room, nobody wearing face coverings. It was just...
Younger people do tend to feel like they're more invincible than older people like me.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of that going on, for sure.
Yeah.
So, summer came and went, and then suddenly it's time to go back to school. Did you think, were you oh, great, maybe, things are going to be calmed down enough or under control enough that I'll be able to go back into in-person school?
I didn't think that because I didn't start watching the news, but my parents were watching the news, a whole lot. So I saw it on the news, and, I saw the cases, staying where they were, which were, kind of high. So I knew that, I wouldn't be going into school full-time immediately, but I feel like they were trying their hardest to get us into school because they know how much of a struggle it is for a teenager to not see anybody.
Right, so it's, the risk of getting infected or infecting teachers versus the consequences that it's all taking on you guys from just being isolated and at home and having to work on a computer all day long.
Yeah.
With no interaction except for your family members. Yeah. What a crazy balance that's been.
Yeah.
What's happening in your school district now?
So in my school district on Monday and Tuesday we have online school, so video calls all day and stuff like that. And then on Wednesday, it's targeted learners, so I think it's, people that had trouble last year and, struggled some last year, they're helping them.
Are you one of those targeted learners?
Yes.
So you go in on Wednesdays just for, half a day?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
But, yeah, it's actually, it's really helpful. It helps me get my work done, and it motivates me because, I know that, because if I, miss an assignment, then I know my teachers still like me. I know that they still, know that I'm there, and I know that they don't hate me,
They love you, trust me.
But yeah, it's definitely helped. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, I go in on Thursday because my last name starts with a B, but on Thursdays, it's A through L, and then on Fridays, it's K through Z.
Oh, the students with last names A through L.
Yes.
Okay, so your class, your team is split up into two days. There's Thursday and Friday. So you're going on Thursdays.
Thursday and Friday are whole days. So
awesome.
It's not half days. It's whole days. We have lunch and recess and PE and stuff like that. It's cool. I'm glad that we did it.
So you get on the bus, you ride to school like you always used to. How has that been? Has that been a relief to get back into the groove of seeing people your age and interacting? And
I mean, I feel like I've changed a lot during this time. So and also not seeing everybody, I feel like I've lost a lot of friends.
Yeah. Because
I had close friends last year that I were strangers now. It's so weird. It's really weird. So I don't. It's nice seeing people, but I don't see people that I'm close to. You know? Because the only person that I'm close to that's in my class, her last name starts with a P, so I can't see her. because of that reason. So.
Yeah, that's tough. I think we're all missing our families and friends for sure, but
Yeah.
you guys especially. That's a really big deal.
Yeah.
So just to kind of wrap it up, I just want to ask you just one last thing, and that is, what is your life looking like today? As far as, do you have some recreation back? I know school is slowly changing for you guys. What is your social life looking like? Are you back playing any sports?
Yeah, my life's looking better than it was, definitely, because so I played in a Rochester softball league. That was very fun. I'm glad that I got back to playing softball, and I found
Is that your number one sport?
Definitely. Yeah. But and then I met this person. Their name is Reagan. She's so amazing. She's like one of my best friends right now. But she introduced me to a person named Toby, and Toby is also one of my best friends. And then Toby introduced me to this person named Liam, and then Liam is also one of my best friends. So like I got my closest friends from one person that I met in softball.
Right.
Which I found I just like, they helped me so much. Like they definitely made me better. Like my mood and like my mindset and stuff like that. But I'm glad that I have them. And then softball, I just made a travel team called Seacoast United. I'm very proud of myself, and I know that my mom is proud of me too. And the team is glad to have me, and I'm really happy for that, because I've been playing for like half of my life, and I'm glad that I like have that opportunity to get better and play with like better people.
Oh, definitely. It's kind of like stepping up into the big leagues now a little bit
Yeah.
more, Well, before I let you go, Laura, what position do you play?
I'm a catcher in softball.
Oh, that's so exciting. Catchers really are like the anchor of the team, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you're working on those skills and getting better every day, huh?
Yeah, I'm really glad that I became a catcher, because like because I feel like catching just gave me more confidence in softball. It just it like led me to it kind of led me to actually loving softball.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we all find our thing when we play sports. We all find that position that we really love, huh?
Yeah.
All right, Laura. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really
Yeah,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
your perspective. This has been a really important one.